Or is that normal?
What time do you leave? Oh, you're here. Yeah, I can put that. Yeah, do that too. I'm gonna work. So this is a one. This is that version where down goes forward, up goes back. Make sure you're trying to make sure that you can see this.
The beginning.
There you go. We're gonna get down.
Okay, got it. Thank you.
You have the control. And I'll just turn this little as you're turning. It'll be dark until you get up.
Can I stop by and pick them up? I don't care if they're not there. Even you, but fuck you. Why don't you do that? Just leave me a dozen.
Hi, Brian. How are you? Sent a message to the university. My husband's car got towed yesterday from Rambury.
Oh, no.
Yeah, $250 down his garage. He was parked in that lot. It was very annoying. I had to drive him to put up his phone. His garage. Always cool. See you. Okay. Anything else you need? Oh,
Shelby's not coming. I gave her the, or wasn't anything on
Well, good evening, everybody. Welcome to the West Goshen Township Board of Supervisors meeting for Thursday, May the 1st. To start the meeting, will you please stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. This meeting is being live streamed on the Township YouTube channel, and please be aware that the meeting may be audio or video recorded by people present in the room. Our first item of business is the opportunity for public comment. So if there's anybody here who has an item, or comment, or question they would like to raise about a subject that is not on the agenda, now is the time to do it. Yes, sir. Do you mind stating your name?
Sure. Absolutely. All right, good evening. Ladies and gentlemen of the board, fellow community members. My name is Brandon Droback. I stand before you tonight not only as a proud resident of West Goshen Township, but also as a candidate for the Board of Supervisors in the upcoming election. First, I want to sincerely thank the board for your service and the important work you do on behalf of our township. Your decisions directly shape the quality of life we all enjoy here, and I deeply respect the time and dedication that takes. Service has always been a guiding principle in my life and within my family, which includes dedicated public servants such as educators and law enforcement officers. My commitment to serve was established early in life through my experience as an Eagle Scout, where I was instilled with the values of integrity, community involvement, and a strong sense of duty. These principles have shaped my journey and were further strengthened throughout my career as an officer in the United States Army, where I've had the privilege of leading diverse teams and solving complex challenges across the nation and abroad. After years of frequent relocation in the military, my family and I have chosen to put down roots here in West Goshen. With that decision comes not only a sense of belonging, but a renewed calling to serve, this time by giving back to the community we love and now call home. I believe my background in leadership and engineering positions me well to serve our township. I'm passionate about contributing to our shared goal of making West Goshen the best place to live, work, and raise our families. Thank you for your time this evening. I welcome the opportunity to meet with each of you on the board to learn more about your roles and responsibilities, and I invite my fellow community members to reach out to discuss opportunities to strengthen our great community. I look forward to listening, learning, and doing my part to serve our township. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anybody else with a comment or question? Very good. We'll move on to agenda item number 4, which is a presentation from Ms. Lynn Cohen, Executive Director of the American Red Cross, Delaware Valley Chapter. Ms. Cohen, welcome.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for giving me the time to share with you this evening.
Do you want to use the microphone over here? Just easier for the recording to pick your voice up. Chris, is it on? Yes.
Good evening. Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate sharing information with you about the American Red Cross. I typically like to open with how many or what do you know about the Red Cross? Does anyone want to be brave and share what they know about the Red Cross?
Provides blood to those in need.
Thank you very much. Yes, that's one thing that most people know us for. Anyone else? Any other brave souls?
Helps out disasters.
Absolutely, thank you. And anyone else? Well, with that, I'm going to share that yes, we are mostly known for floods and floods as the American Red Cross, but our mission is to alleviate human suffering in the face of emergencies, and we do that by empowering our volunteers and the generosity of our donors. And we do that in all 5 lines of our service. I just want to share this video real quickly. It's kind of an overview of the Red Cross.
The American Red Cross mission is as critical as ever to address today's urgent humanitarian needs. Our world is changing rapidly. Disasters have become more intense and more frequent. The nation's blood supply is vulnerable to the lowest donor base in 2 decades, and emergencies seem to arise around every corner. As Red Crossers, we witness firsthand the profound impact on the communities we serve. We adapt, we evolve, and together we meet these challenges head-on with kindness, care, and an unwavering commitment to mission delivery. Because of the generous donations, my sons have their mom, my husband has his wife, and we are eternally grateful that we can actually do things as a family. You know of the Red Cross, you donate to the Red Cross. You don't actually ever expect to need the Red Cross. Fiscal year 2024 was a year scarred by tragedy and fortified in triumph. We responded to tornadoes, hurricanes, floods, and wildfires. We provided aid alongside the global Red Cross Red Crescent movement as conflict and crisis intensified. We supported military members, their families, and veterans as they navigated difficulties unique to our armed services community. We taught more life-saving classes to be ready for moments that matter, and we rolled up a sleeve and overcame blood shortages to meet patient needs.
Gracias a la Cruz Roja yo tuve todo lo que necesitaba, ¿no? Nos dio la ayuda, nos dio todo.
In our unity, we have found strength. In our diversity, power. And in our compassion, healing. Together we have helped stitch the fabric of humanity back together, one thread at a time, with dedication to service that knows no borders, no race, no creed. For we are the American Red Cross. We embolden and uplift our shared humanity because everyone deserves a tomorrow filled with hope.
Okay, so that's an overview kind of what we do in the overall of the Red Cross. We have 5 lines of service. So we have disaster cycle services, biomedical services, our training services, which is all of our CPR first aid, lifeguarding, babysitting courses, AED. We even have Whale Tails, which is a swim program that a lot of people don't know about. I always am surprised that people don't realize that we were born on the battlefield with Clara Barton 140 years ago. And so we do have that service to the armed forces where we serve our military from enlistment to veteran status. And then finally our international humanitarian services where we support our International Federation of the Red Cross, which you saw a piece of that on there. So locally, every day we're serving thousands of people. And I'm not going to go through the statistics, but the big thing I like to point out is that 90% of our workforce are volunteers, and we couldn't do it without our volunteers. We are over 300,000 strong across the country. And 90 cents of every dollar that is donated goes back to our programming services. Buying the vehicles that you see that we transport the blood to the hospitals. We have the largest lab at 7th and Spring Garden in the country, and it processes blood that goes locally out here to Chester County, to all the 5-county footprint, and sometimes where it's needed. We have the national resources to get the blood where it's needed, when it's needed. And when you see the disruption of all the tornadoes and the fires and the floods, blood drives get canceled, and that's why there's a constant need to continue to educate folks about the need for a diverse and safe blood supply. Who we are, I'm the executive director of the Delaware Valley chapter, which serves Delaware, Chester, and Montgomery counties. We are part of the southeastern Pennsylvania region, which also includes Philadelphia and Bucks. We're continuously helping. Last year, over 2.5 million people were displaced from their homes due to disasters, and that number has been increasing year by year, and more than 88% of U.S. counties have been affected by a disaster. That's a lot if you think about it. We care during life's darkest moments, whether it's a single family fire or a multi-family fire, we're there. We are always providing a safe shelter. We work with our townships, our local governments, and I'm out here today because we want you all to know us before you need us. In this chapter, we responded to 190 local home fires this past fiscal year, and we provided care and comfort to over 934 people after they were affected by a disaster, and that could include floods as well as fires. We have something that we call the biggest disaster is home fires, and so we do something called the Sound the Alarm campaign. We have a huge event coming up in South Philly tomorrow, actually. And what we do is we go out to the community, partner with fire departments, and install free smoke alarms. Anyone can request a free smoke alarm. Every day, 7 people die in a fire, and it's preventable if you have working smoke alarms in your home by 55%. So we're always looking for community partners to help with that. We provide more blood than any other blood bank. Every 2 seconds, someone needs blood. And we just opened a new fixed site blood location center here in West Goshen, and Ashley and Chairperson Ashley and Tina Marie and Chris Bashore and Nate were there, so they helped us with our ribbon cutting. So it's a great local resource, and we're always looking for folks to host blood supplies at their blood drives at their place of business, or they can do a virtual drive and have their family and friends go into the fixed site location to donate. And there's our center right there in West Goshen, but we collect more blood than actually Philadelphia in our 3-county footprint. almost 70,000 pints last year. We assist the military, as I shared in the video showed. One of the biggest things we do is we do what's called restoring family links in times of disaster. If people are displaced and can't find their family members, we have volunteers who do research to try to reconnect families. Also, if the military are active duty and there's an emergency overseas and they need to get home for it, we help provide that assistance to get them home. So our network in our footprint helped about wrong statistic. We have 230 Red Cross chapters across the country, and we're embedded in over 35 military installations, and we provide life-saving services also at the Philadelphia Veterans Hospital as well as out at Coatesville. And we go where they go, kind of the things I've shared already. We've had almost 1,100 folks helped by the Red Cross. So if a military family, for example, needs assistance with food or rent or other resources, we are able to connect them. We also have mental health services, resiliency training, and the list goes on. We also do our life-saving CPR classes. So we do that in schools, in businesses. We have a whale tail program, which I like to talk about because most people don't even know it exists. So we offer programming at city pools, and we're kicking off a centennial swim in Philadelphia this year, and hopefully we're going to expand that next year out to our Delaware Valley chapter. We help during all kinds of crises, during the Ukraine and the Israel crisis. You'll see that the International Federation of the Red Cross is there on the ground receiving hostages, and how we help support that is we financially support them, as well as we have volunteers in the surrounding countries to support military installations that are nearby. So what you can do to help the Red Cross and make a life-changing difference is really just to learn, volunteer, or donate your time, talent, or treasure. We're always looking for volunteers to serve the area. We have free programming. Our Be Red Cross Ready, hands-only CPR, which trains folks to be the help till help arrives. So that's a 30-minute class that just teaches you how to do compressions until someone can get on scene. We have lots of volunteer engagement opportunities. A big thing that we are in need of is what's called a duty officer, or I like to call it the ringmaster of disaster. That person receives the call from fire or police that alerts us that we are needed. Our response time is usually within 2 hours, but that duty officer is the person who gets the volunteers out to the scene, and then they stay in touch with the volunteers while on scene to make sure that we have an appropriate response to whatever is happening in the community. I just went really quickly with that, but does anyone have any questions?
Well, thank you, Ms. Cohen. Let's see if the board has any questions, then we'll open it up for anyone else. So, does any of the board members have any questions for Ms. Cohen?
Yes.
Yeah, I just want to say, having just given blood on Friday, the facility is so much better than it had been when it was in Westchester. And thank you for moving it to West Goshen.
Absolutely. Well, you know, the Red Cross is reinvesting in its facilities and upgrading. So the new centers, the new fixed site locations that we've opened in Norristown and West Goshen are state of the art. So I'm glad you had a good experience, and it's a beautiful facility.
Do you also offer CPR classes there at that new facility?
No, we don't. So the CPR classes, the certification classes are typically now 4 hours virtually online, and then you come back and you sign up for an in-person class because an instructor has to pass you to make sure you know the techniques that are appropriate. So a CPR class is 8 hours. We do not, the blood collection is all we do at that facility, but if you're ever interested or anyone needs to know, I'm definitely the person to put you in the right touch.
We have a monthly e-newsletter which goes out to the residents in our township. Could you submit something to us so that this week we can have that posted?
Absolutely, I would love to do that.
Would it be possible, Chris, to have a blood drive here? Do we do that in the township to help out a little bit?
We could, we've done that in the past.
Okay. Would that be advantageous?
Yes, absolutely. We would love that. I would definitely, who should I have, an account manager? Who should I coordinate with?
Chris?
Chris? Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you, Chris.
And
Thank you,
should we
Jeannie.
set a time frame, maybe twice a year, or I don't know what's appropriate?
Great. So a lot of people, oh, go
I'm
ahead.
sorry. In the past, we've done 2 a year, 1 in the spring, 1 in the
Okay.
fall.
So maybe
We haven't
continue
done,
that.
we haven't done 1 in a few years.
Okay.
Probably since COVID.
Yeah.
No, we did 1 we did 2 in 2022, I believe.
I guess another suggestion I would say, since we're going to put you in the newsletter anyway, maybe we can expand it to say if there's anybody interested in having the Red Cross Mobile Unit at their place of business or whatever that may be, we can expand the newsletter if that's okay with you, Chris, to indicate that we would, you know,
I'll have to look at that.
maybe not recommend the word, but if you would like to, they can get a hold of Lynn directly.
Yes,
If they
that
like
would
to,
be, that would be more appropriate.
if they'd like to have the mobile unit at their facility, contact you directly.
Perfect. Would love that. Thank you so much.
And just a logistical question, just so that our residents know. Is the site in West Goshen like a walk-in, you can walk in and donate, or do you need to make an appointment?
So they like you to make an appointment, however, they do accept walk-ins. They might tell you the schedule is full and they might ask you to make an appointment, but I think, I mean, for right now, you can walk in.
Steve, I'm just wondering if you could give us a little insight to the fire departments that coordinate with the Red Cross in any way, like CPR training or anything like that, or?
Well, we do our own CPR.
Okay.
Usually we work through the ambulance garage. It's a little bit higher level than what they offer. And as far as giving blood?
Well, in any way, I thought maybe.
Yeah, we do. I mean, what will happen, I believe, is fire station chief will notify county, and then the county will dispatch typically if services are needed.
Okay.
Well, and something I'd just like to add about that we've been running into is folks think that if it's just like a kitchen fire or something, or if they have a friend or family's house that they can go stay at, that they're not eligible for our services, but they are. We make the assessment and determination. I mean, we may be able to provide them money to stay over or to support them, but we really like to be notified. I know that there's been a lot of misconception that if someone's staying at a family member's house, they don't need the Red Cross or they can't access us, but they can. So just like to clear that up and just share that.
Ms. Khan, what's your operating budget for the Delaware Valley chapter, and how you fund it? How do you raise money for the chapter?
Sure. So we are funded by corporate and mostly individual donations, and we do one major fundraiser a year. We just had our Red Ball Gala, which raised about $400,000. So I can't give you a specific operating budget because I don't oversee the biomedical team, which is where most of the funds go to. But most of our donation, we are not federally funded, which is a misconception. So I like to clear that. We are a private national nonprofit, and a lot of folks feel like we are federally funded because American is in our title. It is not, even though we are commanded by the Constitution, or not the Constitution, but there was an amendment made that the Red Cross had to be first responders, and because we have to be part of the first responder team, that's a mandate, but it's not something that gives us funding at all.
Other questions from the board? Is there anyone here who would like to ask a question, Ms. Cohen? Well, thank you very much. We appreciate your time, and I'm glad you're here in West Goshen.
I was just going to add one other thing. Is there anything more the township can do to help the Red Cross? I know we just mentioned some things in the newsletter and
Yeah, I mean,
drives here.
we could share our volunteer opportunities, or if you ever host any kind of volunteer fair in the community or know of any community events that might be fortuitous for us to be at, to help recruit with volunteers, because we're really trying to get local responders in local neighborhoods, because if someone has to come to Montgomery County, from Montgomery County to West Goshen, it's going to take them a lot longer to get here than if someone is a volunteer trained in Westchester to do the disaster action team response. So that would be a big help as well.
Okay, great. Thank you.
And I can talk with Chris about that as well. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you. Okay, we'll move on to agenda item number 5, and that is the conditional use decision and order for conditional use application number 1, 2025 for Westchester University seeking modification of the existing conditional use approval granted on September the 14th, 2011 for a geothermal pump house pursuant to section 84-57-10C3 of the West Goshen Township zoning ordinance. Kristen, would you like to walk us through this?
Sure. So Westchester University of Pennsylvania submitted the conditional use application on March 5th. They were seeking conditional use approval. You just referenced the section. It's a section of the zoning code, 84-57-10C3, which allows as an accessory use in the PUC district where this property is located at 114 West Rosedale Avenue, a geothermal pump house. So the geothermal pump house was originally approved through an order in September of 2011, and that order had various conditions. Applicant has sought approval to install a permanent 500-ton air-cooled chiller with an acoustical enclosure to the north of the existing pump house, and they'd also like to install a temporary 500-ton cooling tower with a temporary noise barrier. The board held the hearing on this application on April 15th, 2025. What I've done, as I do in any conditional use, is I go through the testimony that was presented. I prepare a written decision for the board's consideration. There are findings of fact, conclusions of law, there's a discussion about the application, and then there's a proposed order for the board's consideration. So the proposed order would approve the conditional use request, allow the installation of both the cooling tower and the chiller, and I noticed there's a typo on this, I have to give this revised section on page 10, but with various conditions, and so I'll briefly go through those conditions. The first one is both the cooling tower and the chiller have to be designed and installed in accordance with testimony and exhibits presented at the hearing, and specifically, but not limited to, the recommendations made by the applicant's noise expert, who was Metropolitan. They had a noise study that had some recommendations that the university is going to have to follow in order to mitigate the noise from both the cooling tower and the chiller. The second is a restating of the condition that was put in the September of 2011 condition, and that's specific to restricting specifically the property where the pump house is located. It cannot be further developed or subdivided, and there has to be a declaration of covenants that's recorded that identifies that. The third one is that within 14 days of the installation and startup of the cooling tower, applicant has to have its noise expert measure the decibel levels at the property lines. There were, I think, 6 or 7 properties in the noise study that were identified as adjacent properties of concern. And we've also are making them test there were 3 property owners who were granted party status. They all live in that area. So this condition requires that the noise expert measure the decibel levels of the cooling tower and basically demonstrate that it meets all of your noise code. If it doesn't, they have to listen to the noise expert to come up with additional mitigation measures for the sound. That same condition carries over to the chiller. It's pretty much written in the same way, and that's condition 4. Condition 5 basically says that if there are modifications that have to be made, then they have to basically demonstrate so that they have to retest it once those modifications are made, and again demonstrate to the township that they meet the noise ordinance. The noise study, as I mentioned, did have recommendations for building materials and acoustical elements that have to be installed, and this condition requires them to install those specific measures. The noise study, again, had specific an enclosure system as part of the chiller, and this condition 7 requires them to install that. 8 is there were sketch plans that were part of the application. They were admitted as exhibits A3 and A4, and they specifically showed the location of the chiller and the cooling tower. So condition 8 would require that the location of both of those structures be placed where they're shown on those sketch plans. Number 9 is also a carryover from the 2011 condition, and this was before applicant digs any additional wells on any property in West Goshen, which is going to connect into the pump house. They have to arrange a meeting with the neighbors and coordinate the timing of the digging. And that came about because when they were digging the original geothermal wells, I think the neighbors were impacted but not necessarily notified and didn't really know what was going on. So that was intended to make sure that the word gets out. Condition number 10, the prior conditional use approval required a 10-foot landscape buffer along eastern and southern property boundary. And this was something that I thought that somebody should go and check to make sure that that buffer is still in its condition that it was supposed to be. Sometimes over time, trees die, etc. So this is just to make sure that that buffer is refurbished to the extent that any trees have died. Condition 11 is that the cooling tower and exterior noise enclosure must be maintained in good physical condition, repaired in a timely manner if it becomes detached, damaged, or in a state of disrepair. That condition came from Mr. Diskin. As if you recall, at the end of the hearing, I offered to the parties that if there's anything they wanted the board to consider. So Mr. Diskin did send some suggested conditions, which I have pretty much incorporated. Condition 12 is that the cooling tower and exterior noise enclosure has to be removed by November 15th, 2025. And the applicant basically is not permitted to install an additional cooling tower for a future season unless they come back to the board and get conditional use approval. So those are the suggested conditions. We did share this, or Mr. Nagel was able, I did not email it to him because there were other parties, but he did get it from the public website and indicated to us that the applicant will accept these conditions. And Mr. Diskin also found it on the website and notified us that he was satisfied and appreciated the board's efforts in this regard.
Kristen, was there any other input from the other two parties?
No.
Kristen, in 10, is it implied, or should we also should have included in there that they are required to maintain the trees that would be along the landscaping buffer?
We could add that. I think that's a great suggestion.
This way, we don't want to put them there and then never see them again, and then they die a year later.
Sure.
They don't replace them.
Yeah, that's fine. We can add that.
Maintain and replace
Yeah.
as required.
Yes, that's good. I like that suggestion.
Any other points from the board?
I just have a question, I might as well ask it for number 12, where it says thou shall not install any future cooling towers on the property without obtaining conditional use. For whatever reason, like, is there a situation where they might be able to put a cooling tower somewhere else and not just on this property, that they should still have to come to us for conditional use approval?
Well, the cooling tower, the use of that is really part and parcel to the pump house. It's like an accessory structure to the pump house.
So you can't put it on another property, like.
The only other place they could put it is they could put an individual cooling tower at each building that geothermal connects to.
Yeah, no, I guess my question is, and I'm not suggesting that we change anything, I just want to understand that.
Yes, that's the only other place we do because the cooling tower is integral to the water system, and this is the only place the water is pumped from.
So they could put a cooling tower on another property without conditional use approval, technically?
It would be, depending on where it is, it might be in the borough. It would be like one of the dorms needs a cooling tower. They have to put it in and then disconnect the pump, go to the cooling tower into the building.
But from a use perspective, Brian, I'm not sure how we would view that because again, the cooling tower, as far as the uses that are allowed, are considered accessory to the geothermal pump house. And the geothermal pump house is what is the approved use. So if they were just going to install a cooling tower, I guess it would just be accessory to an educational use maybe, I'm not sure.
It would be accessory to the building as part of the
Yeah,
system.
yeah, almost like an HVAC system that's outside of the building. So they probably could, and I don't think we would require conditional use.
And they don't want to do that because it's expensive. They want to do it here, so they don't need to do it individually in the buildings.
Okay, that's fine.
Thank you. Any other questions from the board? Is there anybody here who has a question about the conditional use decision and order and conditions?
So all the other parties to this will receive copies of this?
No, when there's parties, I don't send it to anybody. So they know that it's available on the web, but I don't like to send it to the parties in advance. Only if there's no parties will I share it with the applicant's counsel. That's traditionally what I do.
Okay. So at this point then, we approve this tonight, is that how the
That's
process
correct.
works? Yes.
If somebody was going to make the motion, it would be to approve the conditional use consistent with the draft order that's been presented, with the change that Tia Marie wanted to paragraph 10, to add that they have to maintain and replace the trees as required in the 10-foot landscaping buffer.
Okay, so is the board member willing to make the motion as described by Ms. Campbell?
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
Okay, so you have a motion with a second. Is there any board comments or questions on the motion? Okay, is there any public comment or questions on the motion? Okay, then we'll take a vote. All in favor say aye. Aye. Is there any opposition? Hearing none, the motion passes 5-0.
Thank you.
Thank you, Kristen. Thank you, Mr. Knight.
Thank you.
All right. So next on the agenda is item number 6, which is discussion and possible appointment of Mark Bertolami as Public Works Director, Michael Cacavo as Assistant Public Works Director, and Michael Moffat as Director of Wastewater Operations. So I'll introduce this. So before the board is appointment of the individuals that I've just described. This is part of our merger of the Streets, Parks and Facilities Departments discussed during the 2025 budget process. Please be advised that in the case of Mr. Moffat, it is a title change only. The revised organizational chart was provided as part of the meeting materials. And this is all part of an ongoing look at our organizational structure and how we can be best organized to provide an efficient and productive service to the township residents and businesses. Any questions from the board on this topic? Is the board member willing to make the motion to approve the title changes as I described?
Second.
Okay, any questions or comments from the board on the motion? Any public comments or questions? Very good, we'll take a vote. All in favor say aye. Aye. Is there any opposition? Hearing none, the motion passes 5-0. Congratulations to Mark, Mike, and Mike. You're doing an excellent job, and we're proud and glad to have them here as part of our township staff. Okay, we'll move on to agenda item number 7, which is discussion and possible approval of a proposal from Conrad Siegel Actuaries for professional services pertaining to the merger of the sewer and administration and roads pension plans into a single non-uniformed employees pension plan. Chris, would you mind introducing this subject for the board?
Yes, Mr. Chairman. So before the board this evening is a proposal from Conrad Siegel Actuaries, who's the township's pension actuarial firm, pertaining to the merger of the sewer and administration and roads pension plans. This would establish a single non-uniform employee pension plan. For some background information, during the exit conference for the township's pension audit with the PA Auditor General's office, there was a verbal recommendation that was made to merge the two plans since they are essentially identical in all aspects. The pension committee did review this and has recommended proceeding forward with the merger. Some items of note for the board, a new plan document would be prepared and the board would need to adopt an ordinance establishing the plan. For the valuation that would be done for January 1st, 2025, there would be 2 valuations and Act 205 reports completed, and going forward there would only be 1 completed. And this would result in a cost savings for the township. There would still be a portion of the annual MMO allocated out of the sewer fund, and there would need to be notification that would be issued to plan participants, which Conrad Siegel has said that they are able to provide. It's important to note that merging these plans would not change any of the benefits outlined in the plan documents or the vesting schedule. The only intent is to create one unified plan since they operate in the exact same manner.
Chris, why would there still be a need to make a portion of the MMO come out of the sewer fund?
Because there is still a portion of salaries that are allocated to the sewer fund for our employees that work at the wastewater treatment plant, our finance department employees, and myself.
Okay. And you have a proposal, I don't think you mentioned the cost from Conrad Siegel, right?
Yes, I apologize. So yes, the proposal to prepare the restated plan document and everything for the merger of the two plans would be $5,000.
I see there's a couple of advantages you cite here, simplify township operations, and you save some reporting complications. Would there be any disadvantages to merging the plans?
I do not see any.
How come this hasn't been done already?
I cannot answer that question.
Just good, just seemed like it makes sense.
I mean, this was discussed a little bit at the pension committee, and it's lost in the mists of time as to why a separate plan was originally created. No one seemed to have a firm or definitive view. Decades ago, there was some suggestion that maybe it would make sense to have a separate authority for the sewer system at some point down the road. Of course, that has never happened in terms of an independent, separate body outside of the township, and the employees have always remained township employees. So there is no definitive answer to the question.
Well, don't you pay the sewer employees through the revenues from the sewer fund? Is that maybe why that it was easier to keep a distinction of contributions you had to make to those employees was coming from the sewer revenues, not the general tax? I don't know if that's how you handle it. That might be the only thing I can think of. Why
Yeah, I think
it's easier to record keep.
And we set up the authority for legal reasons, to keep it a separate entity.
The
So
sewer
under-
authority and the sewer fund are two completely different things. The sewer authority has no employees and has no jurisdiction over this pension plan.
Okay.
But don't you pay into the sewer pension plan from
You
sewer,
do.
some of the sewer revenues?
You do,
Maybe
but
that's
there's-
why where the money's coming from.
You do, but
Keep it separate.
there's still nine uniform employees that are not subject to a collective bargaining agreement with all the exact same benefits outlined. And the funding ratio, if you look at the funding ratios that Ashley Wise provided, they're essentially identical. So there would be merging the assets would have absolutely no impact on the funding ratio. Would have very, if not no impact on the funding ratio.
And both plans are funded from the township. It's not like they have separate funding sources anyway, so.
It says there's a cost savings. Any idea how much?
Unfortunately, I don't know that off the top of my head. But if you think about it, they would, right now our actuary prepares 2 funding documents, 2 Act 205 reports, so that would be condensed down to 1.
Gotcha. Thank
Is,
you.
they're charging $500 or $5,000 to merge the two and also change the name? Does that sound?
There's also ordinance
There's
preparation.
ordinance preparation, plan document
Okay.
preparation, things of that nature.
You
And I
have to send
think-
out letters to everybody.
Going forward, you save money, because anytime the plans change, you have to adopt an ordinance to adopt the amendments, and now you're doing 1 versus 2.
Gotcha.
So there's some cost savings there.
It's a simpler, more efficient way to manage the system overall, because we have pensioners now receive 2 checks from
Yes,
2 plans.
that's the other issue that presents. So right now, if you have a situation where you have pensioners who are eligible to participate in both plans, in theory, they could select 2 different beneficiary schedules, 2 different payment methods, different benefit schedules. It creates other issues.
Any other questions from the board? Okay, I'll make a motion to proceed with the proposal from Conrad Siegel Actuaries.
I will second that motion.
Okay. I haven't quite finished, but Tina got there anyway, so that's fine. Okay, so got a motion and a second. Any questions from the board on the motion? Okay, is there any public questions or comments? Okay, then we're ready to take a vote. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposition? Hearing none, the motion passes 5-0. Okay, so next on the agenda is item number 8, discussion and possible adoption of resolution number 16, 2025, authorizing the submission of an application to the PA Department of Community and Economic Development's Greenways, Trails and Recreation Grant Program. Chris, would you mind introducing this one, please?
Yes, Mr. Chairman. So before the board this evening is proposed resolution number 16, 2025, which would authorize the submission of a Greenways, Trails, and Recreation Program grant application to the Commonwealth Financing Authority. The application will be seeking $250,000 in funding for improvements to West Goshen Community Park, specifically the installation of a splash pad. The township applied to this program for this project in 2024, however, it wasn't funded. That being said, as the board's aware, the township has been awarded $450,000 in grant funding so far, and that was done in 2023 towards the improvements that have been outlined to West Goshen Community Park. In terms of the guidelines, the award amount is capped at $250,000. There is a 15% match requirement, but the cost of the project is going to exceed that, so I wouldn't be concerned about the match. And we can utilize the funds already awarded to the township towards that match. Additionally, as with any application submitted to the Commonwealth Financing Authority, there is a $100 application fee for the submission, and the deadline is May 31st.
Thanks, Chris. Any questions from the board?
Yeah, I have a couple of questions. Chris, the prior application for 2024 wasn't approved. Do you have any idea why? Did you get any indication from them as to why it was not granted?
I did not get any feedback from DCD as to why it wasn't funded. My best guess, just kind of in looking at the funding, or the projects that were funded, they just had a lot of projects and kind of had to pick and choose. And I spoke to Senator Comita's office, I believe it was, and they said that none of their constituents in their district got funded that year through that program.
I guess that's the answer to my next question. Is there going to be anything different in this application from the last one?
I'm gonna try. I want to maximize the amount of funding towards it, so I want to give it one more shot.
Okay. All right.
Thank you.
Chris, just as an update, have we finished the phase that was in progress related to the basketball courts and the tennis drainage area?
We had to wait for the weather to be a consistent 60 degrees.
Okay.
And I'd spoken with Chris Peterson about that. We had been experiencing a lot of fluctuations during the month of April.
Yeah.
So I think now that we're into that time period where it's going to be in the 70s, 80s pretty consistently with no real dips at night, we're going to get that finished.
Okay.
And I know our Park and Recreation Director wants to do a little ribbon cutting ceremony for the new basketball court.
Yeah, they were doing that this week, right?
I don't think he's finalized the date yet.
No, but I think that they were.
They might have been resurfacing at this point.
Yeah.
I haven't spoken to Chris about it. He hasn't given me an update, so I will ask him if they're doing that.
Yeah.
Okay, then phase 2 is the bathroom.
Yes.
And then this is a grant for the phase 3, splash pad.
It's essentially become a 3-phase project as opposed to 2.
Okay, any other questions from the board?
No, but as somebody whose children are going to be attending the camp at Community Park this summer, and it gets really hot, I'm really looking forward to having this splash pad. I think it's going to be great for the camp kids when it finally is installed.
I almost want to go to that campus.
I know, it's become
Want
the
to
super
see that
camp
this year,
now.
maybe next year.
So just so the board's aware, I mean, just like with the last program, we'll submit it in May. It'll probably be an 8 to 12 month timeline for when we kind of hear anything. My recommendation would be, if we're not successful the second time, we just proceed forward accordingly.
Okay, exactly. All right, so any other questions from the board? If not, I'll make the motion to approve resolution number 16, 2025. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Nate. Any questions or comments from the board on the motion? Okay, is there any public comment or questions? Steve?
Yeah, we have the 450 that we're using now, right? How much of that, first of all, the basketball courts look great. They've done a nice job of that. We're walking over there, and it seems like we're finishing the lining and everything. How much of phase 1 basketball courts of the 450?
We haven't drawn on anything for the grants. Generally, you draw on those when the project's completed as a reimbursement, but we haven't drawn on any of them. So all 4 projects were included in both applications. So once everything is done, we'll draw on them. We have until May of 2026, I believe, is our contract with the county grant, and then December 31st of 2027 is our grant contract with the state. So there's still some time on there.
How much was the basketball project?
I don't remember off the top of my head.
150.
The total, I think, for phase 1 was about 3 or 400,000 for both of the drainage and the basketball court, but I don't remember off the top of my head.
Because you got the engineering cost as well as the construction cost in that. So.
And you remember what the cost is for the bathroom upgrades?
I don't remember off the top of my head. I'd have to look at it, but I believe all in everything was about 1.2 million.
Okay.
So that was all 4 phases of
That was
all 4 projects.
Including the splash pad?
Including the splash
So
pad, yeah.
conceivably, if we get this 250, that'll put us up to around 700.
Correct. The goal of this all along, since we've been talking about these projects since I've been here in 2021, has been to maximize the amount of grant funding that we can get to offset the cost for everything.
And that's
So, so far we've been doing
Very.
Yeah,
2 out of 3 so
that's
far.
pretty good.
Yeah.
And that's why it's a multi-year phase project because of that approach.
It just takes longer to get it done this one.
Costs will go up, I can tell you already.
Oh, yes, I'm well aware. It's gone, it's,
It may be 1.5 by the time you get.
when we started planning this in 2021, it's risen each year we've done it in the budget, but hopefully we were able to secure some more funding to offset that.
Any other questions? Okay, then we're ready to take a vote. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Is there any opposition? Hearing none, the motion passes 5-0. Thanks, Chris.
You're welcome.
Okay, next is agenda item number 9, discussion and possible approval of resolution number 17, 2025, amending the list of officials of West Goshen Township authorized to transact business related to the sale and/or acquisition of municipal vehicles. Chris.
Mr. Chairman, before the board this evening is proposed resolution number 17, 2025. This resolution would amend the list of approved officials authorized to transact business pertaining to the sale of municipal vehicles that are authorized by the board. This list was last revised in 2024 through resolution number 4-2024. And the only time that transaction would occur would be once the sale of the vehicle is awarded by the board pursuant to the second-class township code. Essentially, this resolution reflects the staff changes that were discussed earlier this evening by the board.
So that's the only reason for this resolution then?
Yes, I've updated it to reflect the title changes, to remove a staff member who was previously authorized that has since retired, and to add Mr. Kakvo as the Assistant Director of Public Works.
Okay, thank you, Chris. Any questions for Chris? No? Okay, I will make a motion to approve resolution number 17, 2025. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Ashley. Any comments or questions from the board on the motion? Okay, is there any public comments or questions about this motion? Okay, we'll take a vote. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? Hearing none, the motion passes 5-0. Agenda item number 10 is discussion and possible adoption of resolution number 18, 2025, authorizing the execution of the signing district agreement, tourist-oriented directional signing. Chris, over to you.
Mr. Chairman, before the board this evening is proposed resolution number 18-2025. By way of background information, at the October 3rd, 2023 meeting, the board heard a presentation from Chester County Tourism regarding upgrades to wayfinding signage in the township, which is part of a larger project being undertaken. At the meeting on October 17th, 2023, the board approved the necessary agreements and participation in the program. Through recent communication with PennDOT, I was advised that a resolution is required as part of the program. So I've attached a new agreement that PennDOT has provided as well as the resolution. The township solicitor has confirmed that this agreement aligns with what was previously approved.
So this is just a requirement from PennDOT.
Correct.
As part of their approval to proceed with this wayfinding signage.
Correct. I spoke with the contact for this program at PennDOT, sent her a copy of the previously approved agreement as well as the minutes showing that it was approved, and she indicated that a resolution is still necessary.
Okay.
So there's no change from this to what we already approved?
No. And since they sent over an agreement that was more filled in than the one that was executed before, I asked Kristen to take a look at it, and she said it aligned with what she previously reviewed.
I forget which party was going to be doing the signage. It wasn't PennDOT though, right?
No, it's the Chester County Tourism.
Okay, so do you have an expectation as to when this signage would be done or? No. Any other questions for Chris?
Do we have any idea what the fee structure is for these signs?
What do you
Are we going to be paying for the signs or?
No, they're paying for it through a grant.
Okay.
My understanding is they're only going to replace the signs with like signs.
Correct.
So if a sign is needed because we have a new tourist attraction here, it's not going to be added.
Correct.
Okay, that still remains.
Correct.
I know there's a specific schedule of signs that we're going to be done. It included some new ones, if I remember
They're
correctly.
not allowed to.
That we approved it back in October of 23.
I don't
There was
think the
replacements and there was 2 or 3 new ones.
Well,
Grant didn't allow that.
I think the grant didn't, they had to replace what was already existing.
Right.
So, because I know there was some discussion about like, well, is this really a tourism destination? And I remember them saying that they had to replace what was already there. I think the graduate training center for the university came up as one of those items. And I think that's what you're
Yeah,
remembering.
they weren't allowed to.
But we did take a look at what was, it's part of the wayfinding sign program. I did review them because I know there was some discussion about should we eliminate certain signs or get rid of things that aren't in place. And I did provide comments back to them back in beginning of 2024, I believe it was.
Because that was my whole beef with it.
Yeah, it was annoying to see some signs being replaced that weren't really applicable to a tourist sign.
Right.
But it was either all or nothing, was my understanding.
Exactly, that's right.
I know that QVC is interested in having their sign because the one down there on Paley Pike that's scheduled to be replaced is pretty beat up, and they contacted Mark about it maybe a month ago. Yeah.
Okay, any other questions from Chris? All right, so the board member wanted to make a motion to approve and adopt resolution number 18.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, who was the second there? Tina? You're a gentleman name. Okay, we have a motion. Are there any questions from the board on the motion? Is there any public comments or questions about this resolution and the motion? Okay, we'll take a vote. All in favor say aye. Aye. Is there any opposition? Hearing none, the motion passes 5-0. Agenda item number 11 is discussion and possible adoption of resolution number 19, 2025, declaring the week of May the 11th, 2025 to May 17th, 2025 as National Police Week. So we have an annual recognition opportunity to recognize our police and the work that they do. And I'll just read the preamble here from Chris on the resolution. The resolution would recognize during the week of May the 11th to May 17th as National Police Week. The purpose of this designation is to recognize the contributions and sacrifices that law enforcement professionals make to the community. We commend the work that each member of the West Goshen Township Police Department does every day, as they are a critical component of township operations. So you've all heard me say how much the board appreciates the dedication and professionalism of our police. It was an opportunity to welcome the latest police member not too long ago, and for the one who's in the room tonight, thank you for all you do.
All the attention on you.
Yeah.
Pay me to do it.
Well, that's part of it, right?
Hopefully it's a lot of money. Thank you.
Yeah. So there are specific whereases in the resolution. It was all made publicly, so to save time, I won't read them all out tonight, but just be aware that we are all, I know, 100% behind the sentiment and statements that are in the resolution.
We've traditionally the board's authorized a lunch for these type of events, so we can do the same thing.
Okay. All right, so is a board member willing to make the motion to approve and adopt resolution number 19?
So moved.
I will second that.
John and Tina, all right. Any public comments or questions?
Just curious, is this an annual thing, or do you get to redo it every year?
It's an annual recognition, and it's like many things, it's a specific week where nationally there's an opportunity to recognize the work of law enforcement.
But it would take an annual resolution to recognize.
Yeah.
Can we also, we're not part of the resolution here, but I figure on doing a luncheon for the police staff.
Yeah, you just said that.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, just to make sure. We're all over that.
Okay, any other public comments? Okay, let's take a vote. All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposition? Hearing none, the motion passes 5-0. Agenda item number 12 is discussion and possible adoption of resolution number 20, 2025, which declares the week of May 18th to May 24th as National Public Works Week. So before the board is this proposed resolution. It would designate the week of May 18th to May 24th as National Public Works Week in West Goshen Township. The purpose of the designation is to recognize the contributions that our public works professionals make to the community. This year's theme is People, Purpose and Presence, and the American Public Works Association outlines the theme as follows. The People, Purpose, Presence theme highlights how public works makes communities safer, more vibrant, and a better place to live. Whether serving as first responders, responding to electrical outages, providing regular waste pickup, or making roads and sidewalks passable after a winter weather event, Public Works is always there when people need them. We commend the work of each member of the Township's Public Works Department that they do every day, as they are a critical component of the Township's operations. So again, often we receive throughout the year compliments of the responsiveness of our Public Works staff and the work they do, whether it's a winter storm event, whether it's dealing with sanitary sewer issues or other stormwater issues. They do a really good job, and it's great to hear resident feedback on their appreciation for the work that they do. So, great job to all the team there. Any other comments from the board?
Traditionally, the board has authorized the launch for National Public Works Week.
It's funny how they fall back to back here these days.
Last year, they fell in the same week.
You did? Any other questions?
No.
All right.
Make the motion.
Thank you, Nate. And you had to say it. So you made a motion to adopt resolution number 20, okay, and John is second that.
I just want to, just before the board votes, I just want to make sure he's recognized. Brian's an integral part to our Public Works team as well, even though he's not really a member of the department, he is an integral
Brian,
component of that.
You're going to double dip. If you can't have it this week and have the National Engineers Week, so now there's one of those too, so.
There is?
Yeah.
I think he's
Never been recognized.
You're going to double dip? All right.
Brian spends a lot of time working on stormwater issues with Mark and his team, so.
You know we appreciate all you do, Brian, it's great.
I think you earned that double dip.
Yeah.
And he's recognized in the resolution too, so I just want to make sure he's recognized for what he contributes to the team as
All right,
well.
well, thank you. Okay, so we've got a motion to say, is there any public comment on the motion? Okay, we'll take a vote. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Is there any opposition? Motion passes 5-0. Agenda item number 13 is discussion and possible awarding of bids for certain items owned by West Goshen Township that have been authorized for sale. Chris.
Mr. Chairman, before the board this evening is consideration to award the bids for the sale of surplus items authorized for sale. The board authorized these items for sale at the meeting on March 18, 2025. Bidding opened on March 27, 2025 and closed on April 24th, and we did public inspections on April 10th and April 17th. I also want to make sure I commend John Weddy in our Public Works Department. He handles a lot of these for the bidding and organizing everything for the public inspections, and he does an outstanding job. So there were 7 items that were listed for bids. I'll go through the winning bidders for each one. For the 2008 Leeboy Road tack trailer, the winning bid amount was $10,001 to Travis Shearer of York, Pennsylvania, and we received 51 bids on that item. For the 2017 Chevy Colorado, the winning bid amount was $21,599. The winning bidder was Desmond Cole of Sicklerville, New Jersey, and we received 115 bids on that item. For the first 2022 Hustler Hyperdrive, the winning bid amount was $9,200. The winning bidder was Virgil Schertzer of Columbia, PA, and the total bids received were 79. For the second 2022 Hustler, the winning bid amount was $8,400, also to Virgil Schertzer of Columbia, Pennsylvania, with 77 bids received. For the first 2020 John Deere Gator, the winning bid amount was $12,800 to Derek Magger of Broadheadsville, PA, and we received 88 bids on that item. For the second John Deere Gator, the winning bid amount was $12,850 to Floran Burns of Malvern, Pennsylvania, for a total with 94 total bids received. And for the 2015 Ford F550, the winning bid amount was $36,100. Winning bidder was Rusty Rill Sr. of Taneytown, Maryland, and we received 63 bids on that item. All the necessary buyer's fees have been paid by the winning bidders. Mr. Weddy did put together information showing the ranges that he estimated and the amounts that were awarded that were the highest bid. Generally speaking, they all fell within the range or exceeded those ranges that you put together. So we recommend awarding the bids as received for the above listed items. The total sale amount for this in this lot was $110,950.
Thank you, Chris. I'll make the motion to approve approve the award of bids for the 7 items listed and as described by Chris in the total sale amount of $110,950. Is there a second? Thank you, Ashley.
Are we going to replace all of these?
Some of them were scheduled for replacement in the budget, and we've secured those items. Some were just being sold and not replaced.
Any other questions from the board? Okay, is there any public comment or questions on this sale of items?
I just had a question, is Ms. Camp returning?
No, she's not. Okay, ready to take a vote? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Is there any opposition? Hearing none, the motion passes 5-0.
Did you say it was John Muddy that kind of handled this?
John handles, so John puts together all the descriptions and the estimates, and then he handles a lot of the questions that come in, because they tend to be pretty technical, and I can't answer them.
That's awesome.
And so he handles everything. And that's why in the resolution earlier and in 2024, we made him an authorized signer, because he's really seeing this through from
Makes
beginning to
total
end.
sense. Shout out to John Muddy.
Okay. So move on to agenda item number 14, which is approval of
14. Yeah,
14. Approval
Go
of,
on, sir.
approval of the Board of Supervisors meeting minutes for April the 1st, 2025. Do the board members have any corrections to the meeting minutes?
I already submitted some, Chris, they're just minor typos.
And I've made those changes that Mr. Hellman submitted to me.
I have one correction. I'm not sure if I stated this as written or whether I misspoke when I said it, but it's a correction that we need to make. So it's on page 2, third paragraph down. Second sentence says, Mr. Walsh stated that the township will not be buying electric vehicles for the police department this year. That should actually, if I said that, it was incorrect. What I should have said is that the township will not be buying electric vehicles for patrol duty for the police department this year.
I will make that change.
Thank you. Is there any other changes? Okay, I will make a motion to approve the meeting minutes for April 1st with the correction I just stated.
Second.
Any board comments or questions on the motion? Any public comments or questions on the motion? Okay, I will take a vote. All in favor say aye. Aye. Is there any opposition? Hearing none, the motion passes 5-0. Agenda item number 15 is possible approval of the bills to be paid for the general fund, the sewer revenue fund, the waste and recycling fund, and the capital reserve fund. Is the board member willing to make a motion to approve these bills to be paid?
I'll make the motion. I'll second.
Thank you, Ashley and Tina. Does the board have any comments or questions on the bills list?
Looked good to me.
Okay, is there any public comments or questions on the motion, bills? Okay, we'll take a vote. All in favor say aye. Aye. Is there any opposition? Hearing none, the motion passes 5-0. Is there a motion to adjourn the meeting at 7:10?
I'll make the motion.
Is there a second? Thank you, Ashley and Nate. All in favor of adjournment say aye.
Aye.
The meeting is adjourned. Thank you, everyone.